What up, everybody? Welcome back to Operation Moksha. As always, I'm your host, Chris Roscoe, and today I'm going to be teaching you how to learn how to trust yourself. Because I did this poll on Instagram the other day where if you're not following me there, you should go follow me there. Because I do polls to try and figure out what type of shit you guys actually want me to talk about. And one of the most common responses that I got was how to trust yourself. It's kind of vague. Like, people just tell you to trust yourself. And they kind of say that, like, oh, you don't trust yourself. You need to trust yourself, blah, 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 blah. But nobody really breaks down what that means or how to actually fucking do it. First of all, we need to kind of break down what it even means to trust yourself, right? Because looking at trusting yourself as a big blanket thing doesn't really work, because you have to break it down into all of its tiniest little components, which is something that I'm gonna have you do very commonly. If you like shadow integration and like a lot of these things, you have to get really fucking specific. If it comes to like, oh, I don't trust myself and I wanna learn how to trust myself, it's like, okay, well, what do I not trust myself to do? And what do I need to learn to trust myself to do specifically? What am I needing to trust myself to do? Because trust is basically like when I trust somebody else, I trust that they're gonna do what they say they're gonna do. I trust they're gonna treat me respectfully. I trust that they're going to just be a decent person. I'm trusting them with maybe vulnerable parts of myself, maybe my money, maybe my future, maybe whatever. I'm trusting somebody with something specific to do a specific thing and behave in a specific way. When you're trusting yourself, you have to ask yourself, what are you trusting yourself to do? Or what do you need to learn to trust yourself to do? Do you need to trust yourself to set boundaries? Do you need to trust yourself to tell the truth? Do you need to trust yourself to get good people in your life? Do you need to trust yourself to like actually figure out who the fuck you are and go and be that person? Do you need to trust yourself to like wake up and go to the gym every day? Like, what specifically are you not trusting? And what specifically do you want to be able to trust yourself with? And so that in and of itself is its own fucking exercise, and I would recommend doing some journaling about that, figuring out specifically what it is you don't trust yourself to do or be or whatever. The next thing that you want to do from there is start to ask yourself, why don't I already trust myself to do this? Most things that you need to trust yourself with are things that are important, and you probably have a part of your personality that's devoted to doing that thing. Whether it's going out and making money, saving your money and be responsible with it, having good conversations, setting strong boundaries, getting good people in your lives, like all the different element of your life that you need to trust yourself with is a part of your personality that is meant to govern that area of your life. And there's parts of your personalities that are meant to govern pretty much every area of your life, but especially if it's something you really need to trust yourself with, the only reason you don't is because the part of you that naturally wants to do whatever it is you need to be doing and can do it and wants to do it, it's because that part of you is buried. This is gonna be the answer for how to develop pretty much anything you're ever gonna wanna genuinely develop. There's a part of you that can and wants to do pretty much anything you actually want to do. And the only reason that it's not currently in charge of your life is because you buried it. You told it to go away, you shoved it in the back of your mind and in the shadow, you told it to just not fucking do whatever it's supposed to do, and so you cast it away, and now it's no longer doing what you need it to do. So instead of figuring out, oh geez, how can I trust myself? It's more like, why don't I already? Like, if I genuinely want to trust myself, what have I chosen over being trustworthy in this area, right? Like, if you don't trust yourself to set boundaries, it's like, okay, what reason would I have to not set boundaries? What have I prioritized over my own well-being? What have I prioritized over my own boundaries? What have I prioritized over my own sense of internal peace? And most of the time you're gonna find that, like, especially for boundaries, it's like, oh, okay, I've prioritized connection over my boundaries. Or like if it comes to making a ton of money, it's like, oh, I actually have prioritized staying small because being big enough to make all the money scares me. So I've prioritized staying small. I've prioritized like comfort and connection. Even if it's unhealthy, there's always gonna be something that you've prioritized over what you need to be doing. And this is always a dead giveaway, because no matter what you think you believe, or no matter what you think you are, your actions will always give away your true beliefs and where your values really lie. No matter what you think you believe, or no matter what you think you are, your actions will always give away your true beliefs and where your values really lie. So if you say, I want to trust myself to like set boundaries, and you are constantly not setting boundaries and constantly letting people walk all over you, it's like, okay, at this point, I know I can trust myself to do that. I can trust myself to not do this thing. So why? What's the fucking reason? And for every single thing you don't trust yourself to do, there's gonna be a very good reason. And like, let's just go back with the example of boundaries, because that's the easiest one, or at least for me. And so it's like, okay, I trust that I won't set this boundary, in the beginning. That's what you can trust. You can trust that when it comes time to set the boundary, some part of you is not gonna want to. So then you should start going, okay, why? What is it with this part that doesn't want to do this? What is it afraid of? What does it think it's gonna miss out on? What's gonna fucking happen if I set this boundary? What am I worried about? And you can journal that out, you can talk it out, you can do whatever it is you need to do in order to really get all this shit out and get clear on it. But once you get clear on it, then you'll know what to do. It's like, okay, I don't wanna set the boundary and I can't trust myself to set the boundary because if I do set the boundary, that might mean that people don't like me. And if people don't like me, they might reject me. And if they reject me, I might feel like a bad person or I might end up alone or like God knows whatever else you might be afraid of. And it's like, great, that's what you have to deal with. If for whatever reason you are the person who's not setting the boundaries and you're not trusting yourself and you find out that the reason for that is because you're afraid of rejection, then you need to put your attention towards the fear of rejection. And then once you deal with the fear of rejection or whatever it is for you, then you can trust that your reason for not doing the thing has been removed and now you can just fucking do it, all right? So just to wrap all this up, it's like, okay, if you're in a position where you don't trust yourself to set boundaries, it's like, why? Like, well, because if I did set the boundary, this bad thing would happen. Like, okay, let me make a plan for that bad thing. Let me deal with the part of me that is afraid of that bad thing. Let me integrate it so that I no longer have to fear the bad thing, and then I can start setting the boundaries, start doing what I know is right, and start to behave in a way where I can start to trust myself to do the right thing. Because trust is built by action. Like trust is only built by action. If I tell my friend that I trust him to do a certain thing, and then that friend doesn't do the thing over and over and over again, I'm just simply not gonna trust that person because there's no reason to. In fact, what I will trust is that they won't fucking do the thing. So if you really wanna be able to trust yourself, that is the result of taking a certain action so many times, so consistently, that you simply trust yourself to engage in that behavior when the time is right. If somebody hurts me, if somebody upsets me, if somebody does whatever, I know that I trust myself to tell the truth. I trust myself to say whatever it is I need to say because I've done it so many times and I've made peace with all the emotions and I've integrated all the parts of me that don't want to. So now there's not a whole lot of resistance. And if there is, I trust myself to be with that resistance while I say what there is for me to say. Because I've done it enough times, I just know that I'm going to. So as you're doing this whole integrative process, you also have to remember that you do still have to fucking do the thing. However, that can be tough to do if there's trauma associated with setting boundaries. So that's why the integrative process really comes in. So it's not enough to just integrate the part because you still have to do the thing that you're wanting to trust yourself to do. That's only half of it. Because this goes back to what we were talking about in other videos and in my courses about internal needs versus external needs. The internal need is to, have this part of you feel like it's okay to get rejected or whatever the thing is for you. And then the external need is like, yeah, okay, I'm also gonna do the thing. I'm also gonna set the boundary. I'm also gonna take care of this part of me that doesn't feel cared for, that doesn't trust me to do the right thing. You do the right thing, the part of you that was afraid suddenly starts to trust you, you feel good about yourself, you can start to trust yourself to be the new thing, and then you can just kind of, after that's settled and integrated, then you can kind of turn your sights on what else do I not trust myself to do? Like where else do I not feel super solid in my abilities or my consistency or whatever, and then start to do the same exercise of figuring out why, what that part of you needs from you, and ultimately what you can do about it. So this is kind of like how to trust yourself in a broad, general sense. Now I know because I said this, there's like a shitload of other ways, other areas of life you can trust yourself or not trust yourself. So I want you to send me in all the different areas in which you may not trust yourself so that I can make individual videos about them. I use setting boundaries as an example today, but it's like, there's so many things. It's like, how do you trust yourself to know the difference between intuition and fear? How do you trust yourself to know like whether or not you found the right person to commit to? How do you know when it's the right time to leave this relationship if it's not good for you? Like there's so many different things that you need to be able to trust yourself with, and they're all so unique. And they're also specific, and you need to be able to trust yourself in all these different areas. So if there's anything specific that you're having trouble trusting yourself with, let me know, and I will make a video about it, teaching you to specifically how to break that down and become someone you can trust in whatever area you need to. So I love you, I'm Chris Orozco, and I'll see you next time.